All right, next up we need to do the consult analysis. So hopefully at this point you have filled out the initial consultation form completely. If you are missing anything when we tell the report to populate later, you'll get a bunch of errors at the top, and that usually means that you didn't fill something out. So we're going to be making it in time to where basically nothing's required, but then if you get an error, it's on you. So there will be a checklist at the bottom, but make sure that the initial consult or the comfort consult form is filled out. So now we're on to consult analysis. So the initial consult, that gives you the goals, the budget, and the house needs. But you're going to need more still. So now we need to put in the load calcs and so forth. So normally this will say start, but because I already clicked on it earlier, it has view or edit, and you can see the date that I did it. Okay, now you'll see throughout the software, if you've been doing this a lot, you can click hide hints and it'll make the pages shorter, so it'll get rid of the instructions for the most part. But for now, you're going to want to have it all there. So this is where you need to go do your load calcs. So there's 3 different ones you want to do. You need to do the house as it stands, true to both blower door and energy use. The energy use is really important. Fairly often it won't be that big of a deal, but like I just did one this week where it was very unusual. So in Cleveland, typically our heat loads are double what our cooling loads are. But this house, because they had leaky returns and it had a ton of solar exposure, there was no shading at all, the heating and cooling loads were actually almost identical, which is very, very rare. And I would not have figured that out had I not trued it and then gotten the energy bills. So that's important when you do your load calc. So you'll do a load calc to where the house is today. You'll do a load calc to what it could be with reasonable upgrades. And then you will do a load calc to see how leaky the house would have to be to actually right size the equipment that they have, because typically equipment is drastically oversized. So that helps punctuate the point that it's a big deal. And there's a chart in the report for that. As I'm recording this, it's a little bit goofy. It's not quite populating correctly, but we'll get that fixed. So once you've got your load calcs, though, with whatever tool you want to use, we like EDS Auditor, Michael Hausch likes CoolCalc. There's a bunch of different ways to get there. But once you get all that, you enter it in here. So the current load calculation, you can see it has the current blower door. That should auto-populate from the consult form. And then you can put in whatever your calculated heat load is. So I told this was a 2,200 square foot house. So let's say that the heat load is 43,000 and the cooling load is 28,000. So that's like something we would probably see. Now, so we started at a 2,800 blower door, and now we're going to go to the proposed load calc. So whatever you think you can get the house down to, and then if you make insulation upgrades, sometimes you're going to go to a house that has no insulation in the walls and nothing in the attic. You can model whatever you want. But here is the proposed blower door. So we started at 2,800. Let's say we're going to aim for 1,400. That's a little aggressive. So let's say we can get it to 1,600 relatively easily. So we can take almost half out of it. And by doing that, so we're at 43,000, and excuse me, my allergies are going crazy. So let's say we get this down to 34,000 and 22,000 for heating and cooling. Then I put this house in as having a 100,000 BTU furnace and a 48,000 BTU air conditioner. Now, to true it, and you may see numbers like this, so the house is at 2,800. This one that I just did this week, the equipment was really oversized, and so in that case, I needed to take it to 15,000 for, that's blower door, so that's, it's at 2,800 now, so that's hugely leaky. I very seldom see a house that leaky. And then for cooling, you oftentimes have to move it anymore. So that house was 22,000 CFM50, so almost 10x as leaky as the house was, because that one happened to be a 2800. And now you've got that stuff populated, so there's a chart that will pop up. All right, leakage observations. You don't necessarily have to use this, but let's say little Johnny's was really leaky. So there you go. And we don't have this built out yet, but we're going to have an appendix for stuff that will go at the bottom of the report. So you'll have the graphical report, and then at the end there will be a couple pages of just appendices, various extra information. Or we'll have it to where it's going to pop up on the client record. So it'll show in the form where you were seeing the console analysis and everything. You'll be able to take notes on there. So it'll be a mini CRM. So that's that. All right, odds of success. This is squishy, and this is something you're going to have to get used to playing with. So projects can really go three ways. They can go HVAC only, you can do only air sealing and insulation, or you can do both. And this is where you're just going to want to use gut. So let's say like this house that I just looked at this week. It wasn't particularly leaky. It had just had brand new HVAC put in 6 months ago, and it unfortunately was oversized by a good chunk. It at least was modulating air conditioner. Bummer it wasn't a heat pump. The house had some other leakage issues, so A, we're not going to replace the equipment, and B, HVAC only is not going to do it. So let's say it's 20 to 40% odds. So this goes to the sigmoid, the S-curve of possible odds, and you really you don't want people to live at the bottom of the S-curve. You don't want them to live on the slope. You want them to live up where it's flat again. So this particular client, I think it was air sealing and insulation could really help. So let's say that it's 50 to 70% odds. So you're trying to give them an idea. You want them to understand that they are taking risk with you. There is no guarantee here. You're just going to do your best. Now, if that house was sealed and it had the right HVAC, we're running 70 to 90% odds. So this helps people understand what it's likely to take to fix their house. So I don't know why there's not a separate column here, but we need to put a monthly budget in. So you can put in multiple budgets. So let's say they give you $50 a month, and you're like, that's not going to get you there. That'll buy about $7 grand over 15 years. So let's say that is 20 to 40% odds. Not going to do it. But let's say you think for $100 a month, which would be 14 grand, you've got 60 to 80% odds. You can put that in. And again, this is all squishy. It's meant to be squishy. You're going to be guessing. You're going to get more comfortable with this as you move on and you try this stuff. But there you are. There's the budgets. And so there's what they gave you and what you think would work. You can, I don't know how many people are going to do this, but let's say it's $200 a month, so that would be $28,000, and now you are at 85 to 90% odds. I wouldn't ever promise anybody more than 90 because you always want to show some uncertainty because there is uncertainty. Then we're into observations. So as you get started in HVAC 2.0, if you're coming from the HVAC side, which is pretty much what everybody's going to do, you're not going to be comfortable with shell yet. Don't make air sealing and insulation recommendations after the comfort console. Don't do it. The only exception is going to be simple DIY things, like this house that I just looked at. It had about 50 can lights, and they were all pretty leaky. So, and the client indicated that he is fairly handy. I think he was a 7. on the DIY scale, with 1 being which end of the screwdriver do I use, and 10 being Bob Vila. He gave me a 7. And he happens to be on disability, so he actually has time to do something. So it was a good fit for doing some DIY stuff. So I suggested LED retrofit kits, and he's going to go through and do all of those. So that might be something you might suggest a DIY. Beyond DIY, anything you're going to contract until you are really comfortable, and even then, I don't know that it's going to be a good idea. The rule is pretty simple. Don't make installation recommendations at the comfort console. You really need to do the comprehensive planning process, the next step, before you want to dig into anything like that. Okay, so the observations, all of these sections are meant to basically be mental checklists. So, you're going to run through this, and the house is really tight or really leaky. HVAC size, is it really too big? And you don't have to use any of these, so say you don't want to talk about the HVAC size, you can just hit minus, and that will go away. And let's say that HVAC condition, it's on its last legs, it needs to go, it's 20 years old, 25 years old. If you want to put that first, you just hit this up button and see there it goes up. So very simple. And this process, it lives through all of this. I'm going to try this. Does this help? Oh yeah, I hadn't noticed that. You can actually increase the size of that box, so that's nice to know. Eric is constantly making changes to this, so every time I go in I notice a little something that I hadn't seen before. So again, use this like a checklist. Are there any moisture issues? Did you notice water coming in? Was there mold anywhere? Did they talk about icicles, things like that? Did you notice anything about the insulation? Is there enough? Is there not enough? Was it missing someplace? Was it torn up by critters? Whatever. So there's lots of different things. Space heaters and window units, those are really good indicators of comfort problems. If you see a room air filter or humidifier, that's a good indicator of other problems. Here's the obvious DIY air sealing opportunities, things like that, and you can see I'm putting notes in here for you for what types of things we mean there. Okay, so that's it for the observations. Observations are only saying, I noticed this, I need to bring it up. So if you notice something else that needs to be brought up, like, I don't know, say you noticed a cracked joist in the basement or something like that, you put that in there. Basically, anything that bothers you that you saw, get it off your chest, put it in here. Okay, now we get into the recommendations, and there are 4 levels. So level 1 is cheap stuff and low odds of success. Level 1 and 2, the main purpose of them is to basically wear people out. So a lot of clients are going to be like, well, I want to try this, this, and this. Give them suggestions that don't involve your help, and let them go try stuff. Because they're going to need to go through some of the simple and inexpensive stuff, and it might fix what they're trying to solve. Or they may get to where, all right, we really need to buy new HVAC, or we really should do some planning on how we're going to upgrade the house as a whole to really solve these problems. So level 1, there's a bunch of stuff in here. Education, give them links to things. Should they try running the bath fan all the time? Do they normally keep the air handler on auto? Put it on. Set the DHU if they have one. Open windows, close windows. I mean, it's basically stupid pet tricks. You're just trying various stuff. The filter fan's not a bad idea. That's an inexpensive room filter. Play with the heating and cooling set points. Change the filter more often. Buy a room humidifier. So those are all inexpensive things that if they buy, it's not a waste of money. It's not a dumb way to do something. It just may or may not be helpful. All right, level 2. So we're going to change this. So level 2 is going to be 0 to 200 bucks. Level 1 will be 0 to 200. Level 2 is going to be 200 to 1500. So 1500, you can get a lot of handyman stuff done. So like say you need a bath fan installed from scratch. Oftentimes for about 1500 bucks, you can have somebody come in, crawl in the attic, punch a hole in the ceiling, figure out where to run wiring, pull power from, run the switch, all that good stuff. So if you want to do that kind of work, put it in level 3. If you're slow and you're looking for that, put it in there. If you're not slow and you want them to go find somebody to do it, put it in level 2. And you'll notice some things here like induction hot plate. This is part of our electrification thing. This is way better for air quality, way better. And most people don't like electric cooktops, but induction acts very much like gas. So we've had good luck suggesting to people to get an induction hot plate and try it out. In the case of Tim Portman here in town, he bought one like 2 months after he bought a gas stove and almost exclusively uses his hot plate when he cooks. And I know a couple of other people that are doing the same thing. So it's a nice experience, but you want to spend a little bit of money to do that. So anyway, that's a suggestion. If you happen to be trying to move somebody towards electrification, that is the hardest piece. So if they get a hot plate, that usually helps. Air quality monitors, these are good to put in because people will start watching things and paying attention and they will notice problems. Don't take much ownership here. They will drive you crazy. Hey, it just did this. What's going on? Be careful in how you put that out there. But if you suspect that things aren't going well in somebody's house, you can recommend one. If they don't have a range hood, they can put that in. Or sometimes people have a range hood and it doesn't vent outdoors, so it should go outdoors. And if they need to replace it, use a quiet one. So venting bath fans outdoors, low-level carbon monoxide monitors. If they don't have a dehumidifier, particularly in a climate like where I live, where our spring, summer, fall is pretty humid, and we have basements, every basement should have a dehu running. Energy monitor, if they're geeky or like they've got crazy bills and you don't know where they are, you can recommend that. Maybe they need to hard pipe the dryer if they've got something sketchy and you notice it. And then like the other day, this client had 2 boys in their early 20s and they're like, man, I wish they'd run a bath fan. They never run a bath fan. They just dump that moisture in there. You can run a timer switch or like a humidity controlled switch, something like that. So there's a lot of different things that you can suggest. And you can always add more. Remember, just hit plus and you can add another one. Then level 3, this is where you are going to come in. So this is all contractor installed stuff. This is work that you are interested in. So for starters, you're going to suggest HVAC replacements, and you might type in, let's say we're going to do a Bosch heat pump on top of existing furnace, or change entire unit out to carrier grade speed. So that would be something that we would do routine. And then this doesn't show up yet. So for now, you would have to type in here like that. And then you would change this. Soon enough, we'll have that part working as well, but it doesn't yet. And then probably make a note that bids are attached. So that's your big thing right there. If you want to quote them something separately, you'll notice that these largely follow the 6 functions of HVAC. So here's your right sized. You may want to do a fresh air vent. You can do that with a ventilating dehu. You can do that with an ERV if you like. It can just be a scuttle. Whole house dehu, big air drop, or big ash drop. If you look at it and you're like, boy, this system is a train wreck, you can recommend a duct design. Or if they're going to do an addition or something like that, that may make sense. Do they need a new water heater? And did you see some sketchy stuff? If there was melted grommets on the top of the water heater, you might want to recommend CAS testing. So remember, this is all offer to clients. So put stuff out there, and then they are aware of it. And if they don't buy it, you at least have this to point back to. Well, it was recommended. It's best if you get a signature on it. I don't know that you will with this exact case, but you want to just offer, like keep throwing stuff at them, but give it to them in a digestible manner so that it's not too much. So anything else that you think should go in here, you can put in here. I would, like I said, strongly recommend staying away from shell measures. And then the last thing is the comprehensive planning process. So that is the full audit, because technically the comfort consult is the first half of an audit because you're doing a fair amount of diagnostics. So it's like going to the doctor for a physical, and it's not just a physical, but they also run a blood test and a stool sample and I don't know, an X-ray or something like that. So there's definitely some stuff in there, but typically if something's really wrong, then they're gonna refer you for an MRI or some other testing. So the comprehensive planning process is truly creating a treatment plan for the entire house. Probably not many people are going to say yes to this, but you, you you want to be able to offer it, and we are there for you to help you do this because it's not that scary. It sounds scary initially digging into the building shell side. If you know how to fix a broken air conditioner, that is, and anyone that you walk into, that's much harder than most shell work. It's just not that hard. So don't be nervous by it. We got your back. You want to be able to offer this confidently and then expect not to sell it. And again, that's an offer decline at that point. So let's say that you want to sell the CPP for, let's say it's $2,000. So whatever you want to sell it for. We're going to charge a minimum of $1,000 for helping with those. So you want to plan that in if you want help on that. And that's basically it. So we're to the end of that and we can click submit. And see, you got get the response here. And then up top, you want to click client. And now all the info is in there. I went through earlier and I just put in some kind of stuff for the initial consult. I filled out the stuff that pops up in the report. So this has been buggy for me today, so we'll see if it works. There we go. So I left something out. So when you see these errors at the top, and by the way, so I clicked preview, and this lets you scroll down and get an idea of what the report is going to look like. The PDF is better. This has been really buggy for me today. Let's see if it does it. Yay! Okay. Again, this is alpha software, so you're going to find bugs. It's early. We have the process laid out pretty well, but we have to build the software around the process because it's not really software for software's sake. It's basically a piece of software that keeps you on the process rails because the process is long and fairly complicated. But if you take the individual steps as you need to, you're very likely to not get in trouble and to make a sale. And most importantly, to have a super happy client. So something's going on here. You can see like got some funkiness going on with the text. And normally this will paginate so that the next steps and the report sections are page 1 and 2. Because what we wanted was for the first page and a half to give a brief overview of what the report is, so that if somebody wants to make a decision immediately, they can. Or if they want to dig in, there's all the other stuff. So you can see all the information that you collected is in here. So there's the goals. Oh yeah, that's interesting. So I entered goals in and apparently they didn't save. How leaky is the house? Oh yeah, that's interesting. So basically nothing populated here. That's unusual. But you'll get an idea of what the report looks like, and it should have an arrow that shows where the house is. Yeah, it just didn't pull any data over. So there's some sort of an error. Like I said, it's been a little bit buggy. But everything is going to be in here that we typed. So like, let's look for, yeah, wow. Okay, it just didn't take stuff. So there you go. It's going to do that sometimes. But The whole report will populate as long as it's not being screwy like it is right now, and this will be a nice thing to send over to your client. So most of the time we find that people are already really happy with what they paid for the consults. We've gotten a number of reviews just from the consult from people that didn't move forward. And then when you send them a nice report after the fact, then they really feel like they got their money's worth. And ideally, this is only going to take 30 to 60 minutes to pull together and send back out. And this used to take me hours. Like I'm so thrilled to have this report. So keep in mind, I feel like the Hair Club for Men. I'm not just a president; I'm a client. I've kept my hair; it's just going gray, but it, you know, it, this process, this software is being built for my own personal use too. So I want this to work as well because I'm out there doing the same thing. I'm not an HVAC contractor, but I'm using this same process out in the field. So that is the basics. Hopefully that helps. And there we are. And bugs and all, you got to see goofy stuff going on. That's going to happen some. Be patient. We're getting there. We're chewing through the bugs. But this is a nice tool for doing this. I'm tickled to have this far because this has been in my mind for years, and here it is becoming a reality. So thanks everybody for being along for the ride. Be patient, give suggestions, put bug reports in the sales group on Facebook, and let me know what questions you have. Thanks.